thrilled, absolutely thrilled to have this gentleman in our presence today, as I know most of you are as well. From generation to generation, it is my greatest pleasure to now announce Mr. Adam Nimoy.
Thank you, Doug.
Hi, everybody. Hello. Great turnout. So nice to see you guys. You know, since I'm a quarter Vulcan, I figure I should come back to my ancestral hometown at long last, following in Dad's footsteps. It's really an honor to be here and see all of you, and I hope throughout the day I'll get to meet as many of you as possible and say hello one-on-one. It's a great honor to be here. I'm so glad I was invited. It's amazing to be here 6 years later after Dad came all the way out here to see you guys, and it's been quite a journey with Star Trek, beginning really for us back in 1964 when Dad first came home with some Polaroid pictures of his makeup as Spock, the very early Spock, which was very exciting for me as a young boy. I was about 8 years old at the time, and totally loved TV and sci-fi, and just thought we were going to be this was going to be a great experience. We had no idea 50 years later that we would be with all the activity and celebration and the anniversary of the original series and the spin-offs and the feature films and the JJ reincarnation of Star Trek. And we had no idea what we were getting into at the time. It's been quite a ride, and it's just an honor to end up here with you guys, back where it all started, right? Anyway, I'm gonna unveil here what is going to appear on the plaque. So let's see what we got here. Here we go. It reads, in loving memory, Leonard Nimoy, March 26, 1931 to February 27, 2015. We have been and always shall be your friend, Vulcan, Alberta. Fantastic. Really fantastic. And I would be remiss. Oh yeah, that feels right. Yeah. Actually, I'm left-handed, so it's only worse on this side.
Awesome.
This is fantastic. I wanted also just to mention you guys briefly, I've been working on this film about my dad, For the Love of Spock. Thank you. I know we have some supporters from Kickstarter out here, and which helped us to make this film. And I wanted just to say briefly that I envisioned this film back in November of 2014. I approached Dad and asked him about the possibility of working with me on a documentary about Spock, all to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the original series, which is coming up in September 8th of this year. It will be 50 years, half a century. And Dad was immediately enthusiastic about the idea, so much so that we immediately started to kind of sketch out what the film would look like, what we wanted to include in the film. And the next time I met with Dad, we were talking about it, he had been on the internet and proudly reported to me that he Googled Spock's ears and came back with 100,000 websites. Which he just thought was so amusing to him, because there was so much controversy about the ears when he first went on the series. So he also reminded me that when we were discussing the early discussions about this documentary about Spock, that we were then at the 50th anniversary of when they shot that original pilot, The Cage, with Jeff Hunter, what began just after the Thanksgiving holiday weekend in 1964. So we were at the 50th anniversary at that point when we envisioned the film. And I thought Dad was going to be working with me on this for some time, and then 4 months later, he passed away, which was kind of surprising to us. I mean, we knew he was ill, but we didn't know. I mean, he kept acting like he's going to be around for a while. I kept saying to him, Dad, I've got to get a camera in here. I want to interview you about some of this stuff. He said, what's your hurry? We have till 2016. And then 4 months later, he was gone. So we were lucky that we did find a lot of footage on him. A lot of interview film will be included in the documentary that you'll see. We're releasing the documentary the day after the anniversary on September 9th of this year. It'll be in theaters and on video on demand. But I wanted to mention to you, because Dad's spirit is very much alive all over this planet. I'm sure most of you know that and understand that. And we were feeling that when we were making the film. In fact, in the small editing room that we had rented at Paramount Pictures to cut the film together, we have a huge portrait of Spock looking down on us. which was comforting in a way. It was very cool. And it was also kind of like, you know, an admonition not to screw it up. He was and on the side wall, we had this little tiny picture of Captain Kirk. So that Bill could get his 2 cents in there, you know. Bill has actually been very, very supportive of the film all along the way. It has helped me tremendously. And, you know, the fact is that Dad's spirit was very much with us and very present with us during the whole production. And I'm really proud of what we have come up with. It's taken us, you know, we began the film really in earnest with the Kickstarter campaign. That was in June of last year, completed on July 1st, and by April of this year, we premiered that film at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fast work. We had a lot of help. We had a really good staff. I'm really excited about the material we have. We have a half an hour of clips from the original series and the feature films, and a lot of personal stuff, family photos, clips of Dad and other TV shows that are pretty, pretty obscure, really. And I'm really looking forward to sharing it with all of you. I mean, it's kind of our gift to the community. My dad, you know, was just a guy with a lot of determination and a lot of talent. You know, he came out to the West Coast from Boston as a kid, as he was 18 or 19, took a 3-day train ride out to LA on his own. His parents didn't want him to leave. They didn't want him to become an actor. It was like telling him he wanted to join the circus. Now, these are Russian immigrants who wanted their sons to be doctors and lawyers. You know, or one of each would have been just fine. And my dad's older brother Mel went to MIT, became a chemical engineer for Johnson & Johnson for 30 years. They just loved that. But when my dad said he wanted to become an actor, they were just dismayed. And, you know, and my grandfather, as sort of a compromise, told my dad he should take up the accordion. He said, you can always make money if you have an accordion. That's how my grandfather taught. You can always make money, you know. So, and the rest is just crazy history, crazy. But the fact is that my dad had a lot of talent, a lot of determination, and in the last act of his life, he had a lot of love. I mean, he really focused on the family, and he and I reconnected after a tumultuous, you know, relationship, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of closeness, and a lot of controversy. And but in the end, that third act, I'm so grateful that he made it that far. Just a lot of love. He was a really loving guy and a really classy guy. You know, he was very good with the fans, very loving towards the fan, very grateful to the fan base. And, you know, and I think, you know, there's a lot to commend what he did as an artist and the legacy that Spock has left behind. So many different aspects of Spock that people could relate to. And you'll see in the film we explore a lot of that. But the fact is, I think that, you know, Spock, you know, even though my dad's gone, I think Spock will continue to inspire and entertain people for many years to come. And I think my dad's spirit will also be, you know, I mean, a man of great, great spirit and just warmth and gratitude and humility. And I'm so, you know, proud to say that I'm his son. I am so proud that the team that have worked with me and I put together, I think, a very good tribute to him, a really good film, a really comprehensive film that I think you'll enjoy. And I'm just so happy and so proud to be able to share this occasion, this weekend with you guys, to celebrate the love of an incredible guy, incredible artist, and one of the most iconic characters in television history. So thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Adam. And we truly want to say this to you: live long and prosper. Thank you.
Well, I actually came from New York because we were at a convention in D.C., the Escape Velocity Science Fiction Convention, talking about the film, my film, For the Love of Spock, my documentary about my dad and Mr. Spock. So it took a little doing to get here, but it's a pleasure to be here, and it's just a great country and it's a great tribute. I've heard about the convention here in Vulcan for some time. I know Dad was out here 6 years ago, and it's just great to be out here.
What do you think when you see this plaque in the bus?
I think it's wonderful. You know, it's just to me, it's like the far reaches of Alberta. You know, there's Leonard Nimoy and Spock. It's kind of crazy to me. You know, it's just wherever I travel all over the world, there are people who are fans who just you know, Spock affected their life, and it's just you know, it's just as exciting to me now as it was when we were originally starting with the series. It just has never left me, and it's so heartwarming, and it's a great way to kind of, with the community to grieve for the loss of my dad. We're in this post-Leonard era now, which is a very new territory for all of us, and it's kind of nice to be in it together, frankly, to know that there are people all over the world who feel so strongly about him.
And so 50 years of Star Trek, and obviously over that 50 years has had a great impact on just this little tiny place in Alberta. So what does that say to you? What does that mean to you?
It just meant that, it means that there's something about the message of Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry's vision that has resonated for half a century. A positive vision of the future, a lot of people have responded to. There's a lot about Spock that has just really hit home for a lot of people from all different walks of life. There are very different aspects of Spock that people have really tuned into and connected with. Most notably that Spock was the outsider. This is something my dad reminded me of shortly before he passed away. He reminded me that Spock was the only alien on the Starship Enterprise, and as such he was kind of the quintessential outsider. And I think a lot of us feel that way. We feel like we're alone sometimes in trying to find our place and our passion and our purpose in the world. And Spock really inspires us to keep looking, and that it's okay to be an outsider and still be accepted and within the community. And I think that's something that a lot of people during the course of our interviews for the film have told me repeatedly, that that's what they really love about Spock.
And we're all glad.
Sorry, go ahead.
And we're all glad that Roddenberry didn't get rid of the guy for the years.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of threat about getting rid of Spock early on. That first pilot, when NBC saw it, they said, "There's no way we're going to go along with this." They were not that kind of a network at that time. They were very family oriented. It was Bob Hope and Sing Along with Mitch and Andy Williams, but they were low on the ratings, and they were looking for something to change the game a little bit, and they took a gamble on Star Trek. But when they saw Spock, they said the pointed ears are just not going to work. And in fact, we talk about this in the film a little bit. In the promotional material, they try to do a little airbrushing to not alienate people. They were very worried about that. But the pointed ears are history now. As I was saying earlier on, my dad, Googled Spock's ears, and there's over 100,000 websites that refer to them. So, he was lucky that Gene really stuck to his guns. He was under a lot of pressure, but they kept Spock, and the rest is history. We were lucky.
When does your documentary appear publicly?
My documentary will be released theatrically and on video on demand on September 9th of this year, which is a day after the actual 50th anniversary of the first airing of the original series.
How's it been working on the documentary now that your father's passed? Has it been cathartic for you?
Yeah, it's been a real wonderful way to kind of work through my feelings for him, to go through this grieving process for him, to stay close to him in a way. And just it's wonderful, the material that we have found on him. A lot of stuff I've never seen before. We have a lot of fans sending us family photos, with myself included. I'd never seen this stuff. I just forgot it existed. We had so much press in those early days. And it was just kind of like it was a great way to work through this whole period. I'm glad we finished the film just this week. We did a lot of work on it since we premiered it at the Tribeca Film Festival. And just this week, I think we delivered it over to our distributor. The editing room said, "Stop calling. I can't call them anymore with editorial notes because they're done," which is a good thing. It's great to have a beginning, middle, and end, to the process. But now we're going to start a whole new leg of the trip, which is to promote the film before we release it, and then to take it around to show people and to get feedback from people, and to continue on with this whole anniversary celebration. Which I'm looking forward to participating in. It's really, it's especially meaningful to me because now I have something that I can contribute to Star Trek of my own. That I'm not just coming in as Leonard Nimoy's son. I'm coming in as a filmmaker with I think a really sophisticated piece of work that I'm really proud of. I directed TV for 10 years, so I had some filmmaking skills that I brought to the party. And I think they're going to show. I hope people are going to be really happy and satisfied with the way that we have celebrated the lives of Spock and my father.
Well, talk a little bit about the fans. Since your father passed, there's been just a huge outpouring from the fans who never really quit on Star Trek. They are Star Trek now.
Well, yeah, it's always been about the fans. This is something that my father understood from the very beginning. And it overwhelmed us in the very beginning. We felt the fan base. They were sending us mail. We were answering that mail. They catapulted Spock to the forefront and got a lot of Spock stories from that. It helped with the whole series. Spock was something that a lot of people glommed onto right away. Initially, a lot of people were saying it wasn't that successful a series on the air. It was very successful early on. And it's an ensemble cast too. I mean, Spock is not Spock without everybody else. I mean, I have to say that outright. But you know, my dad spent a lot of time dedicating his life to paying tribute to the fans, to thanking the fans at all the conventions he's shown up, coming out here, you know, traveling all over the world, always gracious with the fans. Even when I was impatient as a kid and wanted to be left alone, he was very good with, giving autographs and having his picture taken and always smiling and, you know, always a lot of gratitude. And it's something that we pay a lot of attention to in the film. It's the fan base that made Star Trek. It's the fan base that we're still here 50 years later. It's the fan base that'll keep Star Trek going off into the future. There's no doubt about that. And you really have to pay attention to that. And I think that's a big part of his legacy.
Maybe if you could just talk a bit about how a small town in Alberta, Canada is such a mega place for Star Trek and for your father's legacy.
Yeah, well, apparently, I'm gonna get the full history. Apparently, it was Vulcan, Canada, before Vulcan was on the map from Star Trek. So I'm told. We learned in our print shop that vulcanization is some kind of baking process for rubber material, right, to harden the rubber material. So maybe that's where they got it from.
Roman god of fire.
The Roman god of what?
Fire.
Fire. Okay, so that explains everything. It's great that you guys are here. It's great that you are able to be a kind of a Rosetta Stone, a center, place, a mecca to celebrate Star Trek. It's great that people come from all over the place to come here to celebrate with you guys. It's wonderful. I'm so glad that I was able to make my pilgrimage here finally. It's wild. It's really crazy that out here in the middle of this beautiful, country farmland and grazing fields and flower fields, we can have this little center of the universe for the Star Trek community. And I think it's very exciting, and just these things it really enriches my life, personally, that there's so many levels of celebration of what is Star Trek and what is Spock. And I think you guys have a very special, peculiar type of claim to that. And I'm just so glad I'm here to share it with you.
Perfect. Unless there's anything else you would want to add or anyone else has any questions.
What was your favorite memory of your dad?
One of my favorite memory, I have a lot of memories, obviously, but one of my most favorite thing was something that happened to us recently. We were I went with my dad back to Boston in 2013 because he was born and raised there, and we made a little documentary film about his early life there. And while we were there, we took something called a duck tour in Boston, which is these trams that drive around on the streets and take you to all the neighborhoods, and then it gets in the water. This thing goes in the water on the Charles River, and then it comes back out, and you go on these tours. So Dad's wearing his baseball cap and glasses, and we get into the back of this tram. No one recognizes him, and we're driving through all these neighborhoods. And the driver, the tour guide, saying stuff like, "This is Samuel Adams and John Hancock and John Kennedy and Paul Revere." He's mentioning all these, and here we are by the West End, and of course the most famous resident is Leonard Nimoy from Star Trek, and people are cheering on the bus, and I'm sitting in the back of the bus with my dad, and I'm like, we share this moment. I love that. I love that. Witnessing that anonymously. Because then when we got off the bus, we were the last to get off the bus, my dad took off his hat, and he said to the driver, "My name is Leonard Nimoy." The guy almost had a heart attack. I just love that. I love that part of it. One of my favorite pastimes used to be walking down the street with him and being just a few steps ahead or a few steps behind and just watching people and how they would react. It's just wild. It is crazy. But it's just wonderful and so lovely. And Dad, was never jaded by the experience. He'd never by it. And he had to set boundaries sometimes, but he was very, it really meant a lot to him, the love that he felt back from the fans. It was a big part of his life.